intro.
I know, right? Welcome to Hotel Moment. Today we have Kelvin Tilokee on with us from Revpar Newsletter. So thanks for being on. Yeah, that was our new intro video.
That intro video was pretty sweet.
Did you like that? You were in it.
I love that I made the cut too.
You did.
I appreciate that.
So it's been almost it's been almost a year since the last time you were on. I think it was like June or July last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about, you shared some awesome memes, and it's always fun to have you on. So I am so excited to get just caught up with you, to hear what you've been doing. You're all over the place. I
am. That is true. That is an accurate statement.
So other than your one Instagram page, Revpar Blums, you have, how many pages do you have now?
Just for myself, I think I'm up to 5. So I've got Revpar Blums. I've got Scotch in a Suitcase, which is my travel page that I rebranded over the course of the year. We've got Midlife Crisis Podcast, which I started my own podcast. I've got the G Spot, which is our career growth self-development page, and one for Revpar Media, where I share all my social media expertise.
That's amazing. And you did start at 5. That's a lot. That's a lot to manage.
It's a lot. It is. I'm not.
But you're doing a newsletter. You put out I think is it weekly that kind of combines everything for everyone who's following all of 5?
Correct. I did do a monthly newsletter.
Is it monthly?
To kind of educate people on everything that I've got going on. I handpick a few posts that have done well that month, or big news. Like last month was when I actually rebranded Revpar Travels to Scotch in a Suitcase, which I think is just a bit more kind of pulling away a little bit from just the hotel jargon, because not everybody knows what a Revpar is. But obviously it's all still part of my umbrella, part of my media company, and on my website it's under the travel tab. So we make it a little bit more open to everyone that's in the travel space. Plus, I love whiskey. It's my drink of choice. So I feature a lot of cocktails, and I've done a lot of whiskey distillery tours and things like that. So as I learn about it, I will share that with the audience. So if you like travel and you like whiskey, cocktails in general, it's a place you want to be.
It is. I love watching it. I love following it. You have made a lot of trips recently to Vermont, right? I have not been. I haven't been. I tried to go once. Really? I did not make it. Whole nother
Vermont
story.
Is really nice.
Yeah.
No, it's really nice. You know what? We fall into that staycation demographic because I haven't been on a plane since last February. We went to Mexico.
How long of a drive is that for you?
3-4 hours.
Well, that's not bad at all.
It's not too bad, So we did that. I did vacation rental up there, so try not to kill me too much out there, hotel people. But
they're not going to want to hear that. Yeah. At least lie about it. Be like, I stay in hotels exclusively. I'm just supporting you guys. That's what I do.
No, you know what? We'll call it research. You got to know your enemy, right? Know your enemy.
That's it. So, there you go. Exactly. You're just doing a comp set analysis for those people in Vermont. So
exactly. Yeah. We made a few trips up there. It's a really nice year-round spot. I mean, people go there obviously for skiing and stuff, but it's nice in the summer. We've been up there a couple of times in the summer. House on the lake. You can do hiking. And I was shocked at how good the food is everywhere.
Really?
Food is amazing everywhere.
Spot. I mean, best food. Which one? If you had to pick.
I would go with JJ Hapgood in Peru, Vermont.
Yeah.
It's a small kind of like a general store that you would only find in these type of small towns in America, where it's you go in, you've got beer, spirits. They make their handmade biscuits and stuff in there. Pizza, it's incredible. I had a chicken and waffles dish that it took me 2 days to eat it.
Really?
I mean, the chicken, there were 2 pieces of chicken this big, and the waffle was like this.
And for anyone who's listening and not watching, it's basically the size of his head. So that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, like if you guys remember the personal pan pizzas from Pizza Hut that we used to eat as kids.
Yeah. When Book It was a thing.
Right.
Remember? And you read air quote, you read your books so that you can get your little personal pan pizzas. Oh yeah.
Yes.
The row bag.
Yes.
No, it's
Absolutely.
awesome. Think that my so I'm also originally from New York. I think the thing that I missed the most was just the seasonal change. I mean, in Seattle we have it, but it's not nearly as dramatic as it is on the East Coast. And Vermont, I think, is a perfect example. I bet you it's gorgeous in the fall, especially.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's actually on. If you look at these top things to do in the Northeast, there's Route 100 in Vermont. You can just take that through a lot of the major cities. So like Stowe, where they have a big ski mountain there, but you go from Stowe to Akimo, and it just goes through like half the state. And they say in the fall, that's the thing to do. Just drive it and just look at the foliage.
Yeah, that sounds heavenly. It really does. But you're about to make a big move.
I am. Los Angeles, where all the celebrities go. So I figured it was about time.
You made it. It's about time, Calvin. You made it. You got to jump ship, go to the West Coast, live in the sunshine. So the benefit, because again, I also lived in LA, is that it's always 72 degrees and sunny. Well, I mean, like it's also like 105 and sweltering, but for the most part, it's perfect weather.
Yeah.
But you don't have those seasonal changes. Like you can always go up to the mountains, I guess.
You could, I suppose. I was going to ask you, how long have you been away from the East Coast? How long does it take to start missing seasons?
I was in LA for 10 years. Okay. And then I've been up here for three. Oh my gosh, it's been like 13 years. Oh my gosh, that's a long time. That's a really long time. So I think, but it took me about 3 years to make LA feel like home. So I missed fall. I am a basic white girl. I did miss fall. Never miss winter because it's brutal.
Do they not have PSLs in LA? I'm sure you can.
Oh, they do, but again, it's like 80 degrees, so you're just like, oh, it's so good, even though you're sweating. And you're like, oh god. Yeah, I know. I didn't. Okay, so embarrassing fact: I did not realize that you could do that until way too late.
It's just like you just throw ice in anything. Could have ice?
I know, but like I didn't think to ice a latte because I'm brilliant that way.
You know what's funny? Actually, I've got to interject a quick story here. The hospitality people will appreciate this. We went to Hakkasan, which you may know in New York City. It's a very high-end Asian restaurant, and my wife wanted an iced tea, and the waiter said, "We don't have iced tea," and I was like, "You have tea on the menu, right? It's an Asian restaurant. You have tea. We can get a whole tea service, and you have ice, right?" "Yeah." "You need me to do the math for you, bro? Like, just make some tea, put it on ice, and bring it."
What happened? Like, did it get through, or did he still refuse to do it?
No, you know what? We ended up giving up. After I explained to him that he had tea and had ice, and he still didn't get it, I said, "You know what? Don't worry about it."
I have a similar story. And of course I won't mention names. I think I've already mentioned this before on this show, but I'm going to say it again because it's my favorite story. I had a big banquet event. This was one of those events like nothing could go wrong. Nothing. Attention to detail was super important. So I'm looking at the spread. Everything's out. We're like 10 minutes early. Everything's good. But I noticed there's no horseradish out for whatever the heck the meal was. I don't even remember what it was. So I ran into the chef and I was like, "Can you get some horseradish out there? Like there's a spot for it, but there's nothing there." He's like, "Oh, we don't have it." And I was like, "Well, you need to get it or you need to make it happen. And if not, let me know." The grocery store is like right down the street. So he's like, "I got it. I'll take care of it." So I come back like 2 minutes before they're going to come out for lunch. And I'm like, it's still not out there. So I go back to the kitchen and I see the chef frantically chopping radishes. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying to get this horseradish done." And I was just like, there's no radishes in horseradish, right? Yeah, that's a thing that happens.
There's no horses either. What was he going to do next?
That's exactly the question. Is like, what was step 2? That's my favorite story. I've definitely already said it before, but that is my favorite banquet story. So needless to say, I had to go to the store and get some.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So what is the first thing you're going to do when you get to LA?
Whew. Probably go to the beach. It's just going to be awesome to be 20 minutes from the beach. You know,
Always.
I don't even need to swim in it. Just go sit, put my toes in the sand, and just watch the waves crash. I think that's it. And put on shorts. Listen, when it gets 40 to 50 here in New York, we're losing our minds, you know, God forbid 60. So if it's 70 plus, t-shirt, shorts, flip-flops.
Absolutely.
You know I'm from New York because it'll be like 65 degrees and I'll be out there in shorts.
I'm not how familiar are you with LA? Like, do you know which beaches to go to and all that?
No way. So if anybody has a recommendation, let me know.
Pro tip: avoid Santa Monica and Venice and just go up to like El Segundo, Redondo, Hermosa. It's gonna be way less crowded. Also, it's gorgeous. So definitely do that. Hi, yes. Very cool. So, okay, so that was we talked about that Instagram page. But what about, let's talk about the G spot, the growth spot. That's your coaching page, right?
That is correct.
Tell us more about that one.
Yeah, that's also something I started roughly a year ago. I think that started maybe March or so of last year. Because over the years I've always been interested in coaching people and helping people, helping my analysts and people grow. It's just something I like to do. I think, I've had some rough times in my career. I was out of work for almost 2 years due to layoffs and things like that. So I've had some really key people that helped me, that reached down and helped me see the ways, and I try to pay that forward. So that's where the idea for that page really came about. And, there we talk about how to work your resume, how to make sure your resume is great, interview, coaching, how to properly put together your LinkedIn profile. And, mostly it's about mindset. And you may or not have seen this recently. I shared something on Revpar Balance. Somebody was something I got from the hospitality family group on Facebook, which I'm sure anybody who's in hospitality knows about it by now. But basically the situation was somebody not wanting to do anything on their break. And in my opinion, they were very rude to their coworker about saying no. They were like, oh, that's a negative when somebody asked them to do something on break. And to my surprise, a lot of my audience was in support of this. And I couldn't believe it because, number one, this is hospitality. You have to be able to communicate to people in a way that's professional, friendly, and not flat out rude. So forget that, but besides that, I want people to understand that this attitude of I'm on my break or I'm clocking out at 5 days over, that's all well and good, but you're not going to get ahead with that. And I think in my experience, a lot of the employees that I've had who had that mindset, they did want to move up. They did want to get to the next step, but didn't want to do any of that work. And then they were confused when they didn't get the roles, when they were passed over for promotions. And you can't have it both ways. And, I shared some of my personal stories prior to that period where I was laid off. I was that kind of employee where it was, listen, I come in, I'm on time, I leave on time, I do my work, but I wasn't going extra. Even when I became a revenue manager, I didn't really look at my hotel on the weekends and things like that. And when I got back into the game, I just completely changed that mindset, because 2 years out of work and struggling to pay your mortgage will do that to you. That's real life at that point. And you realize, listen, I'll do whatever it takes. And hopefully what I'm trying to do is send that message to people without having to go through that, right? It shouldn't have taken me to lose my job completely to realize, hey, you know what, you got to put in the extra work. And by the time I got back, the next role, I went from an analyst again to a director in less than 2 years. When I got that hotel role as a director, I didn't take a break for 6 months. I had a sandwich and I ate at my desk because I needed to do the work. And when I shared that part of the story, people were like, well, see, that's the problem. People expect us to do that. Nobody expected me to do it. Nobody asked me to do it. Nobody even suggested it. I did it because I knew I needed to do that to get the job done. And by the time I left that hotel, I'd given myself a $40,000 raise. So I would say it was worth it for me. And I took that and I worked at a director level for the next 10 years with one of the biggest companies in the country. Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to get through to people is you can't, you have to do the work. There's no shortcut in it. And this business, it is 24/7. And there is maybe not expectation, but if you're going to be, imagine being a GM. I don't know how they sleep ever.
They don't. That's the whole thing.
Right. Because a pipe can burst at 3 a.m. and guess what? Yeah. You need to know about that.
Who are they calling?
So it's a 24/7 business. And if you're not willing to put in that extra work, this business isn't for you. Don't expect to get ahead in it, and be happy with, entry level to mid-level roles. As long as you're okay with that.
Can I challenge you on this a little bit?
Absolutely.
So now I've come from the positions where I was sales coordinator, sales manager, even front office manager, and revenue manager. Like they really did give me 4 roles, and I worked myself until I had to go out on medical leave because I was that stressed. There are companies that will take advantage. Now, do you think that you may have a little bit of like, I don't know, work PTSD from losing that position? There is something to be said for work-life balance. So how do you do that? Like, how do you ensure that? I agree with you. Like these people that come in, they're like, I'm at 5 o'clock. I'm down out. Like that's it. I'm done. If you don't go above and beyond, you're not getting anywhere in this industry. Completely agree with you. But there is something to be said for work-life balance. So where does that fit in?
Of course. And, I don't disagree with that. And going back to the post and the people who were who are positive about it, the whole thing is, you need to set the boundaries, right? You don't want to get taken advantage of, but there's a way to go about that. And, again, I was able to leverage doing that extra work into a raise because I did it. I didn't just become, you can't just become a dumping ground for, you do it wisely, I guess is what it comes down to. You're not trying to be a dumping ground for everybody's work where, okay, let's just give it to him, it'll get done. You can go too far and do that. But you have to be smart about it. You've got to use it to your advantage. So that extra time that you spend should be done doing projects. What I like to say is you work for the job you want.
Right.
Nobody's going to give you, right. Nobody's going to give you that next role without knowing that you can do some of that work. If you're just, say, for example, a reservations manager, and that's all you do, and you've never spoken to your director of revenue or director of sales about what they do, how can you help them? How can you get into forecasting? How can you get into analyzing or go on a sales call? If you don't do those things, then they're not going to be comfortable giving you that next role. And guess what? You're going to have to do that on your break after hours. You're going to have to take away time from what you're doing as a sales coordinator or reservations manager to do that. If you're not willing to do that, then the conversation is over. But once you do that, then you leverage it into, hey, look, these are the extra things that I've done. This is what I know. This should be either increase in salary, increase in role, things like that. So I completely agree with you. You can get burnt out and you can become basically somebody's dumping ground for the stuff they don't want to do. You have to be strategic about it. And this is what I try to teach on that page.
So know what you want your next step to be and make sure that the work that you're doing is like that. That's the mistake that exactly. I was doing a little bit of everything. That was like, what am I trying to get out of this? But
right. Exactly.
They want me to do it.
Don't do extra work just to do it. You need to have a game plan. You need to know where you want to go. And is this extra time that you're spending getting you there? That's the key.
I think now is the perfect time for people to kind of step up and prove themselves. You know what I mean? Like there's so many open positions right now, and you have the luxury to being a little bit picky. So is some of your coaching around how to find that perfect job and not just kind of going with anything?
Right. Yeah. You want to have a plan. If you're just, and listen, that's totally fine. If you're just in this industry just to work jobs, just to get a check and go home, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think most of the industry is made up of those people. I've had tons of those kind of employees, and you need those to kind of just keep things ticking over. But, going back to the original post, in my experience, those people who just, hey, I'm here to do a good job, I go home, they don't give you an attitude about break. They don't give you any entitlement about, hey, I got passed over, because they don't feel that. It's these type of people who are so strict and rigid about my break, my time, my PTO. Don't call me on my day off. They, for some reason, think they're going to be managers.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a good time to weed out those people from the people who are willing to go the extra mile, wouldn't you say?
I absolutely. And these people who are in this industry that don't know how to speak to people, find something else to do. This is the time to get rid of those people. Let's get true hospitality people in the industry and use this as a reset.
I'm really nervous that this whole pandemic thing has really hurt what hospitality means. I've called so many hotels and have had so many interactions with frontline employees, not just at hotels, but at grocery stores and fast food restaurants and whatnot, where I spent an entire day saying good morning, good afternoon, have a great day, and I never once got acknowledged. I spent an entire day doing this at different places, and I have it now so that when I'm calling hotels, they don't even say who it is. Front desk. I'm like, I just called from outside the hotel. Front desk where? Who are you?
Right.
Yeah. Where did this go? So, yeah, get rid of it, man. Nip it in the bud, because we need to get that back.
Absolutely. Right there with you, sister.
Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that for a minute. So if the listeners want to get more information from you, maybe some coaching from you, how do they contact you?
Yeah, well, you can follow us on Instagram at the.g.spot, or send me an email at info@revproblems.com. I'm actually taking on a handful of one-on-one people to one-on-one coaching that want to get to the next level and that are looking to take that next step. And again, I've been in both places. If you're unemployed right now, you're not working, I've been there. And I went from that spot to a director level in 2 years. And if you want to if you're at a director level, you're looking for the next spot, bigger hotel, bigger role, I've done that too. So I kind of feel I have enough experience to help the majority of people out there.
And not to mention, you've gone from that to also transitioning outside of hospitality.
Exactly.
So you could probably get some really good advice on how to do that as well.
I like to think so.
I would say so. So what else is going on? What else you've been on? You have the Midlife Crisis podcast, which is phenomenal. I listen to it all the time.
Thank you.
So what do you have upcoming with that?
Well, we just did a really amazing episode with a friend of mine who's an Asian woman living in Atlanta. So we had the conversation about what it's like for her right now and with everything that's going on in the country. But with midlife crisis I like to talk, as you guys can tell. So I enjoy talking to people about all different kinds of things. And, I think, not to get too deep, but, I think as a society, we've gone away from just talking to each other. Not to say, again, it's called midlife crisis for a reason. I'm getting close to that age, but with social media, as much as I'm on there, I think people have just gone, we block, we cancel every time somebody says or does something we may not agree with. And I gave a great example yesterday because a follower of mine made a joke about coronavirus starting in Asia and people spreading it, and it was off color. And he's not from this country. So I responded to him and I just said, hey, listen, that's not cool. Just so you know, this is what's happening. He had no clue about what the climate here is right now. He's not from here. And he apologized immediately. And he said, listen, me and my people where I'm from, we deal with these kind of things. And we had a great back and forth. And really, I could have just blocked him and I could have said, oh man, this guy is messed up and whatever. But we would have lost that opportunity to have a conversation and connect. And that's a lot of what I do in that show. We've tackled that issue. We've talked about women's issues in the workplace. We talk about relationships. All three of us on the show are married guys. We talk about that. And of course, it's a comedy show. So that's kind of what I tell people is it should be like a good comedy show where you laugh, but you leave with a different perspective on topics. That's what we do there, and planning to do a live show.
Really?
At some point this year. Yeah, we're planning to do a live show. My number one market is LA, so I don't know how that happened exactly with me being in New York, but I'm going there, so I guess it's kind of serendipitous. So we'll do a live show, maybe in LA, maybe in Vegas. So stay tuned for that. But go give us a listen. I think you guys will enjoy it. You will laugh for sure, and you'll see something in a different way.
Again, you can also find that on Instagram, Midlife Crisis Podcast.
Yes. Yeah. And I do memes there too. So if you just like memes in general, I make memes for that page also. So
I have to say, I was having such a terrible day yesterday, and I can always count on going to any of your pages really, and just you just get it. Like, I don't know where you come up with half of this stuff. I really, really don't. But every time it makes me feel so much better. So you're doing us all a service, man.
I appreciate that.
I don't know how you keep up with all of the things that you do. You are a machine, but keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming on and updating us of where you're at. And we always love hearing from you, and it's always great to have you on here. So thank you.
Always a pleasure to chat with you, Saskia. You know that.
And before we go, is there anything else that you wanna say to the listeners?
Well, just be happy. That's my message for everything. Behind everything I do is just having a good time. Have a good time. Those of you out there who want to know how to manage 5 different social media pages at the same time, Revpar Media started out as doing social media for all different kinds of businesses. Obviously, I have abundance of creativity, which is what I sell. Anybody can post things for you, but not everybody can help you come up with ideas to sell your business and put it out there and find your demographic. So that's the last page. That's the 5th page that I think we didn't talk about. But
wait, which one was that? Let's plug that one really quick.
Revpar Media at Revpar Media on Instagram. You could also find me on LinkedIn. But those of you out there with hotels, businesses that are looking to grow your social media audience and come up with creative ideas to promote your brand. As you can see, I have no problem doing that. I come up with tons of ideas. I wake up out of my sleep sometimes with things, and I've got to go write it down so I don't forget. That happens to me quite a bit. But thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure to chat with you and the audience. And find me on Instagram. I'm everywhere.
He is everywhere, and he is a genius. And I'm not just saying that. Thank you for everything you do. And for everyone else, we'll see you again next week.
See ya.